Corbin, we need some firewood.
Hey YouTube, it's Jacob here and we're bringing you another one. So I'm excited because this drawing, which is available on jcut.com, is a drawing that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I drew it, maybe a year ago now. I drew it about a year ago, and I was doing like movie scenes, which I gotta come back to. But I was doing like different movie scenes, and I was like, I want to draw her. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna draw her, but we're gonna draw her from the back. Why not? So this merch is available, and what's also available is the Art of J Cutt coloring book. Oh yes, get yourself. Get yourself. It is a awesome coloring book. And let me see, she's in here. There she is. In the medium, hard, I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's the easy section. See at the top, right here where it says Diva, page 20. It's broken down into 3 sections. You got easy, you got medium, and you got the hard section. So all this is available on Kickstarter. If you go right now to the link in my bio, we have about 2 weeks of the early bird where you get the book, you get the J Cutt pin, you get the bookmark, and you get the digital copy, which is Procreate, Photoshop, and Illustrator, all for $20. So go right now. If you missed the early bird, it's okay because the book is $20. It's a great book. Look how thick that book is. It's a great book with a bunch of coloring for all ages, young and old. Now, on to the 5th element. So before this, I did a video about graphic editing. So I'm gonna be doing more videos about graphic editing for different movies. But the first one I did was 5th element. If you click right here, you'll see the full video. It's really cool. It's almost like a game where you're kind of looking for the graphic edit. So I explained the whole thing right in the beginning, so you understand kind of like what's happening. And then you can go ahead and do a little search around. It's really fun. And Asteknight killed the remix to the Diva song. And you know, he took the first part, which I didn't expect him to do because the second part is the part we all like. But he took the first part and he killed it. It's like really cool, it's smooth. Check it out. If you click right here, you can hear the whole song and you can see the whole process of the speed drawing without me. So let's get started.
Corbin, we need some firewood.
Okay, so this is one of those things where I was like, how am I gonna do this? So actually I think this might have been the time where is this the time where I discovered a certain method? I don't think it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe I did it in other ways, and then this was like where I really was able to establish it. And you'll see with the background, like the background, it looks really detailed, but it's really just splotches of color without any lines, and then I just blurred it, which I found to be like a really cool method to get some really good detail quickly, and yet it feels like really real, or feels like a lot is going on when really it's just splotches of color. So you'll see that a little later on, but right now I'm just worrying about like composition of the sketch. And I knew obviously this is easier because I'm just following the actual movie. So I didn't have to do too much thinking. So it's just about, okay, where's the placement? And just finding out, okay, where's she standing in relationship to the way the, what do you call it, the stadium or the audience is? And so just doing like a really rough, and this is a rough sketch. I can't remember if I did a secondary sketch. Nope. Okay, so I just did a really rough and then went right on top. So sometimes I'll do like a super rough and sketch and then come back in and do like a cleaner sketch and then ink it. It just depends on what I feel like doing, or if I'm really struggling. I usually do that with the hands because hands aren't easy. I've gotten pretty good at hands, but I find myself like sketching really hard and then coming back and doing a clean sketch and then doing it just on the hands. But I didn't really do it this time. I did duplicate the hands just to make it a little easier for me because she's like this and it's pretty much the same on both sides. So I just felt like we're gonna just flip it because I don't feel like dealing with the hands right now, especially on the way they're like positioned. It's just too much. So anyway, you see I'm inking everything out, and this was I'm glad I did this. I do want to do another one soon where it's the front of her instead of just the back. But as of now, I'm glad I did the back because that's really unique, and her back has a lot going on that I think was like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. But I would like to get her face one of these days. So I gotta bring it back. So you can see I'm still inking everything out. I have a method now that I use often that I didn't do then, And also I probably still wouldn't have done it for this, which is I'll do a silhouette first and then put in the fill color that I want, then come back and ink all the detailed lines. That helps me, one, because it makes me feel like I'm almost there, which I'm not. And it also makes me feel like, it also makes it a little bit easier when it comes to color blocking later on, instead of me having to come back and trace in a gray. And you'll see after I ink, I'm going to trace in a silhouette inside of the inking when I could have just did that first and that would have skipped a step. So still inking out, I'm just going in, adding the little detail. And you know, the more detail you can add into the width and thickness of certain things, the more alive that character becomes. So yes, you can just draw up to like the bracelet on her left hand. It doesn't have to be like bulky, it could just be right on her skin, which is a certain style, but then that makes her not feel like three-dimensional. So you want to give it a little bit of thickness. All the clothing, even if it's thin fabric, still give it just something so it feels like it's on her and not a part of her skin, if that makes sense. So this was definitely a fun one. So I was dreading doing the tentacle thingy just because lines like that, you know, you can struggle with. You can see I'm like erasing and like trying to get the lines a little bit more, the curve the way I want it to be. Look, struggling. You get what I'm saying? So like I was dreading that part, but I think I did those on its own layer so that I could just easily erase the parts that needs to be erased so that you know what's in front, what's behind. It's easier to do it on its own layer, erase, and then merge the layer than to try to like do it on the same layer. Sometimes I do it on the same layer and just erase, but I try not to do that too much. So here's that silhouette thing I was talking about. Remember I was saying, now you can see I'm doing a gray silhouette, and it's just for a base color so that I can fill it in and then later fill in my color. So this is just a color blocking. Granted, it doesn't take long, but that's a step that I could have skipped. So this is the method I'm talking about with the backgrounds, where I'm just kind of, and that's why I'm not worrying too much. You can see the lines are a little bit wiggly. I'm not worrying about perfection. It's just filling in and color picking. I'm taking from the real photo and just filling in the shapes. And when I blur it, it gives you this appearance that it's a lot more detailed because it's blurred in the background. See, and just kind of splotching in different colors, and it really feels like a full audience, but really, it's not much really happening here. So that's a method that I use often when it comes to backgrounds that are going to be kind of detailed. Otherwise, it would have taken me much longer if I didn't do this method. If I went more real detail, it would have took longer to get the effect that I want. But you know, when you're in the digital world, you can just blur stuff out and then boom, that helps you out. That's why I like digital. You can do a lot of cheats. I call it, it's not really cheats, but you know, cheats. I think you'll see soon. I had to make a decision on how I wanted to do the highlights. And you can see there, I tried to do this whole using the effect, but it was better to even mock in the highlights because it had a little bit more realism by doing it this way than to try to just use some effect that Procreate has. So you can see I'm just adding all the colors, and you can see it coming together. It's becoming more and more alive the more details, and especially when you add in highlights. Highlights always do that. And you can see I blurred it out, and it automatically just became atmospheric. So now I'm coming in, I'm doing the color blocking, and I like that if I'm going to do a movie scene that's illustrated, I want it to have a little bit more oomph, you know, a little bit more vibrancy than it really was, because it's an illustration. You know, let's give it a little bit more oomph than it was in the film, because film, they want to give you different temperatures so that you can feel it, but the illustration you want it to pop because it's not moving, so it has to really pop. So this blue is a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more tealish, like giving it a teeny bit more green than it really had. And also the spotlight was not as harsh, but I wanted more harsh here. So just certain decisions like that. What I did here was, so I'm going into the shading, and I'm doing a method where I use the lasso tool, I shape it out, and then I use like a really soft brush, and then that gives it the effect of like a fading out shadow instead of just like a harsh shadow, which I love me some harsh shadows. But sometimes for realism, a harsh shadow is just not going to work. You got to have a mix of both. We have some harsh shadows and some softer shadows as well, and then that'll allow it to bring itself forward. Same thing with the highlights. It can't just be harsh lines. It has to have some gradients in the highlights. Like you can see on her head, it's a little bit more like of a gradient, and then I came in with some harsher things. And then I think I had some blue rim lighting for the back. I added some white rim lighting, just certain things just to bring it forward a little bit more. And I can't remember what else happens here. Oh, I do some color. Okay, so this is me just coming in and like adding some vibrancy in the background, just kind of making the background a little bit more separate from the foreground, a little bit more of a vignette on the side. And then I think I add some like sparkles. I always like a little bit of a sparkle inside of the spotlight. I come back with a little bit more rim lighting because I felt like it was too dark underneath, and really that wouldn't be the case because the light would bounce off the ground. Also, there's the Earth, or a planet. I don't think it's the Earth, but a planet is literally behind her. That's very blue, so it would bounce back in onto her back. So I had to give a little bit more of that. And yeah, I think now, okay, so this is me preparing the layers for the shirt and for different products. Because you can see the blinking is because I'm turning off layers so that I can get it prepared. Yeah, so see, doing all that. And that's it. So it's definitely a piece that I really enjoy. Like The Fifth Element, one of my favorite, I think maybe my top 5 favorite movies. I don't know. But it's literally up there because it was a really good movie. It was funny. And you'll see in the graphic edit video, it was really edited very nicely in such a way, in a really artistic way that was really creative, that I don't think anybody really noticed. And I was like, I gotta point this out. So definitely click there. Also click in the link in the description and you'll find that video and a few other things as well. So also we have posters. Oh yes. It's upside down? Of course. Of course. Oh yes. So these are all available on jcutt.com. Oh yes, look at that. Got the shirt. Got the poster? Oh yes. Oh yes. I also did a drawing of Bruce Willis as well. So we'll have some speed drawing of that up as well. You know what? Check it out right here. Please help me support my book. I need this book to get off the ground. It's a really great book. It's really affordable. It's really fun. Great for all ages. So this is available now. Kickstarter. Link in the bio. It's only $20 for all that great stuff. So yeah, help me out. Come on now. Help me out. What are you doing?
I know you're not about to leave without liking or sharing or something. I know you see that red button. You better subscribe to my channel. See you soon.
Anybody else want to negotiate?